Thank you so much for joining me this evening. Great guest today. Talk about passion, talk about enthusiasm. Mr. Christopher Berry from Arizona. Welcome to the show,
Yes,
Christopher.
sir. Thank you so much, Paul. Good to see you.
Yeah, it's great. I first came across you when you were interviewed by Frederick, who, by the looks of things, the way that show was going, that you met him at a show.
I did.
And
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
wanted to know all about the Fuji, and I'm thinking, Frederick, you were going to buy a Fuji. What changed? I just couldn't believe this. The story of Frederick and the X100 or the X100S is, well, it's renowned. It's well known.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
did you meet him at the show?
I've been watching him on YouTube.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine who's a photographer, he said, "Man, you got to go to WPPI." He's like, "Man, my dad bailed on me. Just go with me. Go with me. Go with me." And so I went, and we were coming down the escalator, me and my buddy, and I saw him standing over there, and it's like I gotta talk to this guy. And I was like, "But we're going this way." And I said, "Frederick, I look at you online, I follow you. I want to catch up with you and chat with you." And sure enough, later we did, and amidst all the craziness at WPPI, we just started talking. And
It's amazing.
yeah,
Because you probably saw my very first show was with Frederick.
Yeah.
With Frederick. And the amazing thing was, I sent him this email and saying, "Look, I'm going to start this show called Photography Live and Uncut. I wondered if you'd be my very first guest." And I got this reply back within about 10 minutes. He said, "Of course you will. When are you going to do it?" I thought, this is totally amazing. I was so nervous that first show. I look back at it now and I cringe, the way I started. But what a guy! And yeah, he's got a great show there, TWIP, and he's very, very knowledgeable in photography. Period. It's not just cameras and gear. But we're going to talk about Fujis because it's our passion, basically. I love the Fujis, and I know you do. But it did make me smile when he said, "What's all this Fuji like about?" And I'm thinking, you were one of the guys that basically got me to buy a Fuji, Frederick. Crazy, man, crazy. Anyway, my favorite question is to ask you: when you were a kid, was there a camera in the household that your parents had?
There always seemed to be a Polaroid.
Right. Yeah.
There always seemed to be a Polaroid in our house. I grew up in Baltimore City. Born in '79. So not terribly resourceful. My family was, but we always kind of had a little bit of everything. And Polaroids were what we bought, plain and simple.
Yeah.
If we went to Rite Aid, was a store in Baltimore City. It might still be, but we go to Rite Aid and get some Polaroid film, and we would shoot a few pictures and we'd shake them.
Yeah, exactly.
That is what we did. But I remember that being like, the camera that we just wanted to get in front of, and older Polaroids from some later teens and early 20s from my mom, showed up, and that was the thing, Polaroid for sure.
And isn't it amazing? Here we are, 1970, we'll say about 1980, 82, that sort of time by the sound of things, because born in '79. We now got the Fuji with their Instax doing this Polaroid thing, which is quite a popular thing. When I was at the UK photo show, loads of people queuing up to have a look at the new Instax cameras and the new, the new printer, the Instax printer as well.
Right.
Instax. Right. But so did photography take off for you at an earlier age, or were you like me, sort of wanting to get out in the park and play football, and your American football, my rugby, soccer, and that sort of stuff?
Yeah. No, for me, the real beginning to photography for me was a deal I made with my wife, to be honest with you.
Right. Okay. You got to take photographs of your girlfriend. Why not?
Yeah, it was like, okay, you can. It essentially was between a Ducati, which I always wanted a Ducati, and I was just that close to buying one. And I was like, you know what? Or I could really dive back into photography and really do it,
Yeah.
And she goes, "Well, we have our son, so I want you to do photography because you're not going to crash your bike or something like that, So that was really the beginning of when I really committed to the idea of having a camera all the time. Before I had, like a Canon digital ELPH, like a little tiny camera. I had a little EOS 35 millimeter that I would take out of the closet here and there, but never really making it a point to learn about photography And even when I got that first DSLR, which was a T2i, a Canon T2i, I really didn't know what I didn't know what I was doing. I just had a bunch of money, and my wife said I could. So
how did you study up on photography then? Was it a YouTube, or did you go to courses, or?
No, mostly was YouTube. Mostly was just trial and error. Mostly is just shooting with people, and just shooting my son. Yeah, at the time I only had one son, and now I have three children. I have two sons and a daughter. But that was where I began to experiment with what I did, and a really good friend of mine has been instrumental in pushing me to not only learn more about the core elements in photography and color temperature and lighting and things like that. But he's created this community in Arizona locally where photographers can just trade, so he's shared with me just little tiny nuggets as he's gone along on how to better my photography. And as far as practicing it and just going out and shooting, the Burning Man experience has been great for me as an artist. Because I've been to Burning Man 4 times.
Wow.
So that has been a place where I can meet other artists and be inspired to do more. I met Trey Ratcliffe out there and did his photo walks. I met Eric Chang out there. There's some really great people that have been instrumental in inspiring me to not only do photography and do what I love, but to just share it, and have this idea of abundance and this idea of everybody can have a lit candle, everybody can share, everybody can grow, and it's awesome. Look at what we have, push your art, do your art, do your art. You wake up mad, do your art. You wake up sad, go do art. You wake up, just go create and go share and just do it rapidly and quickly,
And I think you make a very good point there. Probably the best way to learn is to practice and probably learn by your own mistakes.
Absolutely.
And then, of course, pick up a little bit of major tuition from the YouTube and maybe some coursework. But basically, the main thing is to practice and learn by your mistakes, and where. And if you get into a situation using a camera on a regular basis, you can't just dip in and out with photography. I find you've got to basically have your camera with you all the time.
All the time.
And if there's an opportunity, then you can take that image. So you've got a son. You've now dipped in and you've got yourself a Canon, and you're now basically taking regularly. Been to Burning Man 4 times. That's amazing. Now, just give us a geographical scenario as regards to where you're based, to where Burning Man takes place. Is that quite a journey for you, or is it literally just down the road?
It is. No, I mean, respectively, when you compare how far other people travel.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's like right around the corner, but it's about an 18-hour drive from from Arizona, from where I'm at, essentially close to the border. And then it's outside of Reno. So most people, you know, go to Reno and hang out and buy the last minute stuff, and then they go over to Black Rock City. But yeah, I mean, it's a great drive. I've done the drive 3 times, and I've actually flown in once.
Okay. Yeah, because I know Trey Ratcliffe, you mentioned him. You obviously, as you say, you've been lucky enough to meet him at Burning Man, and I know he's been going on a regular basis. And some of the work, excuse me, that comes out, not only by Trey but by other photographers, just absolutely stunning. Of all these structures and these, the goings on, I think is the best way to describe it. Yeah. As what goes on, it gives an opportunity to create such fantastic art. And
right.
Trey, and obviously works along this HDR route, which is now becoming very, very, very artistic.
Right.
When you go to Burning Man yourself, what sort of work are you looking to do? Are you just looking to record it, or are you trying to do a sort of a Trey thing, create some art from it?
You know, it's a little bit of both. It's to kind of document my experience and also my campmates' experience, which I have. And the other part of it is I have a really busy life with my family. So not all the time do I get to have huge blocks of time where I can go and shoot for 10 hours or 3 hours or 6 hours, and no one's going to call me and say, pick up some food or some diapers, or, you know, a client, they might call, but they'll get my voicemail. So it's an opportunity to ask someone, hey, can I take your picture? Hey, can I meet you back here at this point and maybe we can do a quick session? I'm a photographer, or I'm an artist, or hey, I really like this, or hey, would you mind? Hey, can I come back? And, so not only do you practice photography, but the unspoken, intangible elements of being a photographer and being an artist, which is just having the courage to go and put yourself out and say, hey, I'm trying this. You're trying that. Maybe we can try it together, And so that's how Burning Man, has been instrumental for me, is because you can really work on some internal character building, positive things that help kind of push you in whatever you do when you're not at Burning Man. So there's tons of opportunity, which is great.
For those in the UK that are not 100% familiar with Burning Man, we've all heard of it. Mm-hmm. What actually goes on at Burning Man? Is it what we like? We got over here Glastonbury, which is a music festival. Is it music led, or is it just people demonstrating themselves and showing their art, or what?
Right. It's essentially everything all condensed into a temporary city in the middle of nowhere. And so there's guiding principles that are presented for you to follow that will help foster a good Burning Man experience. So a couple of them is, of course, having a community where there's consent. There's rapid exchange of ideas. There's decommodification. There is radical self-expression and radical self-inclusion, amidst a few others as well. But the idea is to rapidly exchange information, whether it be artistic information, whether it be political information, whether it be just anything that you want to share as quickly and as rapidly and as closely as possible, and be self-sufficient and give without having attachment to a result or expecting something back. Party, go climb, go interact, go meet people, go try something new, go get some counseling, go get a massage, go take pictures, go dance, go play music, go whatever. And so for, I would say, longer than the short 8 days or 9 days that people are out there, there's just huge opportunities for growth leading up to Burning Man, being at Burning Man, and then being in your normal default. Because
some of these structures that we see, the one that always comes to mind is the galleon of the gangway, and then last year we had the entwined couple, which was enormous, which was set fire. So these structures are take a long time to build, don't they? They're not just sort of wheeled in on the back of a trailer and plonked and start off.
Right. No, I mean, these are artists that put their heart and soul into what they do.
Amazing.
And a lot of the times there are year-long fundraisers just to be able to get their art out to Burning Man. So it's definitely a love labor, and it's not something that's cheap or to be cheapened, or because you see pictures of Huffington Post people or whatever, and they go out there and they just document Burning Man for like a day or 3 days or whatever, but to immerse yourself in the culture just for that small time, it's really hard to be behind your camera and really put that into perspective for someone that's going to scroll through 10 or 15 pictures on a website, and get someone's idea of what it is, because every year it's different, every moment is different, So.
The great thing I like about the Burning Man is an enormous site. I've seen the aerial shots taken where some guys have sent the drones up. It's absolutely enormous site, but the whole area is cleaned, no litters left. It's just totally everybody leaves how it was found. Right. Which is a great testimony to such a huge event.
Right. It's definitely it's been a huge part of my life, and some other capoeira community members. I do capoeira, which is a Brazilian martial art, and they've invited me to go, and it's been life-changing. It's been utterly amazing, and as far as photography is concerned, it's really helped me streamline my focus and identify the things that make me feel great, and capture that in in my work, you know, and I work for the most part up until very, very recently it's been 100% what I want to do.
Just for what you want to shoot. We're going to come to that later on, because
do.
you touched on it with Frederick, and we had a little quick chat before we started the show. Let's just final up on Burning Man in particular, because tell me about the your gear setup for that particular show, because obviously it's a very dusty area. How do you actually set your camera up for that event? What do you have to basically do to your camera?
My idea was that my camera wasn't gonna make it.
Oh dear.
Like, you know, this thing is not gonna make it, you know. And my first camera that I took out there was an NEX6. That was my first mirrorless camera, was a Sony NEX6, and I took out a Zeiss 1.8, 24 millimeter 1.8, and I had a 50, I think it was a 55 millimeter lens that was just for their crop sensor NEX line, E-mount line, and it just got destroyed. You know, it was destroyed. You know, I gaff tapered it. You know, I gaff taped it around the lens barrel and around, just kind of around it a little bit. But the dust is super fine. Yeah. And there's just it's really tough to finagle. Like, some people will get a plastic bag and they'll, you know, rubber band it together, or they'll duct tape the whole thing and they'll set everything to auto, you know, but I never did that. And the camera worked fine, you know, but it's definitely it can be hell on your gear.
You've been there 4 times. The first event was with an NEX6, yeah? What other cameras have you taken since then? Have you continued to take that camera to the event, or have you used others?
I've taken the NEX6. I've taken the XT1, and I've taken the A7 II, the Sony A7 II.
Right. Okay. And basically, have all sort of managed to survive the event, but you know,
every single one.
Dust has got somehow into the camera. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And honestly, the XT1 held up the best.
Well, exactly. Of course it would.
The XT1 held up the best. Yeah.
It's amazing. It's amazing. It's an experience which I see these guys producing and showing their photograph and their art, and you just look. I've shown my family many times. I just like, take a look at this place, and they just we sit there gobsmacked looking at the imagery. Absolutely amazing. So okay, so photography is not your permanent job at the moment, but it's starting to become something which you may be tempted to make the switch. Would I be correct in thinking that?
To an extent, yeah, because I love real estate, you know, and it's definitely lucrative, and I've been doing it for 10 years. So I have that, you know, on repeat. I mean, that's duplicable, you know. However, I want to travel. I want to see more of the world. I want to make sure my kids have an idea of being able to do art and produce something beautiful and go explore. But people actually they like my look and they want to pay. So I have to, you know, I've been learning how to be okay with money. And people appreciating what I do and valuing its uniqueness and wanting me to produce it. So
have you found that difficult then, to accept the fact that someone's prepared to pay you money for your photographs?
Yeah, at times, absolutely. Yeah, really? Because, you know, especially with my martial arts and with capoeira, I've been doing that for almost 20 years, and I had this idea that I have to be really cautious to not allow the idea of money in a transaction to water down what I want their product, my art, to be. You know, so I've been very selfish and making sure that, okay, if I do this, you know, here's how it's going to be. You know, if you want it, what do you want? Well, you know what, I can't do that, you know, or I'm unwilling to do that, you know, whether it's for a nickel or whether it's for $150, you know. But increasingly, I feel like art, at least especially my art and what I can do with it, because I have the flexibility with my job, I feel like I'm still underutilizing the power that I have with my camera. I feel like there's a lot more that I can do as an artist to bring a little bit more light to some injustices and So that's my next thing, is to travel, you know, and start documenting things more, you know, and you know, forming relationships in different places, and that's what I want to do.
I get the impression that there's a possibility that with your real estate and the photography, there's a very good chance they may be able to sort of just dovetail together, where
absolutely.
where you got an opportunities for downtime in the real estate, and you can switch to your photography, and of course, you got an opportunity to go back to the mainstay work with your real estate. They could work out quite well for you. I'll tell you what we're going to do. Let's go straight to screen share now, Chris, and we're going to look.
Okay.
And I know when you spoke to Frederick that you were saying that a website is got to be your next step, and your
absolutely
your next thing to get that done. And as you know, creating a website is not just as easy as drag and drop, as a lot of these guys have a tendency to sort of sort of say it's easy to do. You've got to get it right. So let's just make sure. You should be seeing your Instagram site here with the username Mick Mahon. Now you explained what that is to Frederick. So for my guests, my viewers, how did you come across Mick Mahon for the name for your
Mick, man? Michali is my middle child. And Michali is Michael in Greek. And my mom's name is Michael as well, and she gets called Mickey, you know. So we named our middle child essentially after my mom, but all of my kids have Greek names because my wife is Greek and Mexican. So they all have Greek names, and they're all at least going to be bilingual. My oldest is bilingual. So anyway, I just shortened it and made Mick Man, and then my Twitter is X Man. So they're after my kids.
And that works beautifully, because you got an identity straight away.
Yeah, thank you.
Exactly, it's lovely. So let's have a look at these images. And as I was saying to you before the show, if I in actual fact try and blow these up, I don't get a really large image on the screen. So for those that are watching the show, apologies for that, but that's just the way Instagram works. I'm just going to scroll through some images, Christopher, and you can just sort of talk about them as regards to what cameras you used and what you basically. I know there's the latest images are very interesting from my aspect, with the Fuji X Pro 2, with the 56-1.2. How are you finding that setup as we speak?
You know what? I really do love this camera. I really, really do. I just got the 56 yesterday. It's the APD version, and it's great. It's contrast only because of the APD filter on the back, but it's very snappy. And I know how to shoot contrast because my first X camera was an X Pro 1. And I just understand the difference between, you know, contrast and phase detection. So I know how to, you know, focus in a scene and find the contrast for the camera to focus on. So it's not a big deal to me. But the way I can get to shooting through this camera is incredible.
Yeah,
I can shoot this one camera at least 3 different ways, at least. And since I don't have a style per se, I can just, whatever mood I'm in, whatever condition I'm in, if I'm in a, you know, kind of a sketchy area, if I'm in an alley or whatever, I can shoot however I want. So yeah, I mean, the 56 has been on since I got it yesterday with this third body. But I do have a 35 and a 16, which if you don't have the 16, I highly recommend the 16.
Yeah,
incredible.
We'll come to that later on, because because I want to talk about your experiences with the X Pro 2. We were talking about it before, and it's not been all plain sailing with this particular camera. But I've heard nothing else but great reports about it from other photographers. And at the UK photo show, it was like bees around a honeypot looking at this camera. Everyone was enthusing about it. But funnily enough, one of the things, I spoke to the Fuji guys at length, and I said, how's it going? So they said, yeah, we're really, really pleased with the response and the comments that are being made. But everyone's now asking us, when's the XT2 coming out?
Right.
And there you go, that's just classic, isn't it? Customers are never satisfied. Isn't it just amazing? But anyway, no. But as regards to this X Pro 2, with all the improvements they've done, although they've kept it in terms of body size, I'm correct, is the same as the Pro 1. It's getting rave reviews, and I know just recently won a couple of awards in Europe for sort of camera and body model of the year, so to speak. But let's talk about these images here that I've been sort of flagging through slowly. You say this little man is my teacher. Who is this?
Oh yeah, this I don't see which exact picture you're looking at, but
okay, hold on a minute, 1 second. It's gone straight over. It should be that one there. It's oh, I know what's happened here, but just 1 second, just bear with me.
Okay.
Because what I've done, that should be share.
There we go. Something's happening.
There we go.
Cool.
Sorry about that. We got that. So yeah, we got the this little man is my teacher. Who is this?
That's my first son. That's
Lovely.
Christian. Yeah, that's my first son. Yeah, we had a mandate after school yesterday. Took him for pizza, and we went on a little photo walk and just hung out. And
Brilliant.
Yeah, so
I'm just going to flick through because I didn't realize I hadn't pressed that present to everyone for the screen share. And these images here are all of Christian, and you can see here how I've said this many times before, actually, Chris, and I think you'll agree with me. There's a film quality that comes out of the images of these Fuji cameras. I'm convinced it's to do with the sensor and the way they've built that and created that sensor in quite a unique way. You look at them and you can see how Fuji Velvia and Fuji films worked in the film days. Well, they still do, actually. You can still buy them, can't you? But lovely images here of Christian.
That's my boy. He's a good kid.
He's a good kid. That's good to hear. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah, so this was like a little window light at a local like kind of grocery store deli spot that he loves to eat pizza there. So when we have some like father-son time, we go there and have pizza. But this was Acros. Well, it's kind of, I guess it's there written. But it's X Pro 2 and it's APD Acros. And I think I may have sharpened this a little, just barely a little bit. But for the most part, this is right out of the camera. But yeah.
Do you prefer to shoot RAW or JPEG?
You know, the JPEGs, I know it's like, you know, everyone says it, but the JPEGs are beautiful. I mean, I haven't really needed to do much to the files anyway. I have literally a 30-second quote unquote workflow for how I edit my pictures. And I haven't been at a point where I needed to put a file in Lightroom and manipulate it to get the look that I want. You know, I really shoot with an idea, even if it's like a split second in my mind, how I want to shoot, I've already got it. I know how the light is. I know, you know, what angle I want to, I see it already and I go backwards, and that's how I do it. Yeah.
It's an interesting point you make there. So basically you're looking at an image on your computer at home, but do you use Lightroom, I assume? Yeah.
I have used Lightroom a little bit. I have every preset.
I was going to say
that. So many
the point I'm making is the fact you're looking at the image. It either works for you or it doesn't, and that's your 30, exactly right. It's your 30-second work. Yeah, you can't make a good picture out of a bad one. That's
In this shot, the other shot with the gentleman with the beard.
Let's go back to it.
I actually shot that with my iPhone, but I edited it. This was in between having my X Pro 2, unfortunately, but I shot him. That was just a basic, you know, quick kind of shot.
Nothing wrong with the iPhone.
Yeah. Oh, it's great.
Unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's a cheeky one.
Yeah. So this was like a quick family shoot. This is somebody that, you know, saw my shooting, and she was like, "Can you shoot our family and me and my daughter and my son?" And, you know, so we went to the park and, you know, had maybe an hour and 15-minute long. And, you know, so yeah.
Lovely. I love this one. I love the light on her hair. And
thank you. So this was, of course, you got the sun, you know, lighting the other side of her face. And then I had just a bare zoomed in flash at 105 sitting on a little like a little tripod. I think it's like a Gorilla Pod or something with posable
Yep.
legs, and that's how I shot that. And I think I edited this a little bit in VSCO, VSCO,
Yes.
on
Yep. Yep.
my phone.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's my daughter.
That's your daughter.
Yeah.
Talk about cute. She's
Yeah.
going to break a few hearts, that one, I
Yeah.
can tell. Look at that.
She's great. That's Ariadne. She'll be a year old on the 27th.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, Chris, when she grows older, just like I am with my daughter, you watch those fellas. You make sure you got the right one.
My middle kid is like a protector. He's
right, okay.
He's super
good.
He's a boy, yeah. So I have
you want to make
no
sure,
fears.
Yeah.
But I shot this in my garage, and I used a flash to color the wall.
Yeah,
and that was it. And this was a 35 f2 I shot this with.
Lovely, a beautiful shot.
Thank you.
And this is the one thing which you can do with these Fujis. You got this color here, and you go back to the one we just shown before, and then you got that as regards to a straight mono shot. A little bit overexposed, but it's got a feeling to it. It's got an atmosphere to it, which is which is what I just love about the Fuji representation of the files when they come out, and you see them on the screen. You go, that's what I wanted to create.
Yeah,
lovely shot, that one. Nice.
And
one.
what I've been doing a lot is I have been shooting a lot in manual.
Yep.
And doing a lot of spot metering, especially when there's a lot of light. And I'll essentially spot somewhere that I really want. It doesn't matter what I see. Is if I like it, I shoot it. I don't care about, if it's, like you said, if it's blown out or whatever. It's like there's still an aesthetic that I find pleasing, and I'm able to get to that way faster without having to edit in Lightroom or shoot raw or do this. And I just get to it,
let's be honest, the camera is the tool, but you found the tool which you can associate with and you can work with quickly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Let's just have a quick couple more and we'll come out of screen share. Sure. That's a lovely shot as well. I love the shadow, love the light on the side of the face. That's beauty. It's a beauty. And shall we end with this fella? I don't know. I don't. Do you know him? I don't. I haven't got a clue. Who is he? Who is it? Get him off. Get him off. And for those who didn't know, that was Frederick Van Johnson. Yeah. The infamous Frederick Van Johnson. What a guy. Great guy. Okay. Let's talk about Fuji. Let's get all passionate and let's get enthusiastic. Why Fuji?
Fuji, what started it really for me was the X Pro 1.
Okay.
That camera blew my mind because of just the experience. First and foremost for me was the shooting experience because, like you said, the camera is a tool. So how do I want to enjoy the time that I'm spending when I'm not with my family, when I'm not at work or whatever? And so what I do when I leave the house is the experience that I have, and that's what I want to remember. Yeah. So when I got that camera and I looked through the viewfinder, I was like, oh, that's cool. It's just like, a DSLR. It's got like an optical viewfinder in it, and I can just see stuff and, oh, what's that line? And, oh, what are those? And then I flipped the switch, and then I was like, oh, what's this? So the ability to have multiple different shooting styles was incredible to me. Being able to look through the optical viewfinder, see the frame lines, and be able to watch what's happening and pre-plan, it blew my mind, and I'd never had a Leica or a rangefinder film camera. Like I didn't know about parallax. I didn't know about any of those things. I didn't, none of that really came into my thought process because, I had, I had a 7D, the first 7D. And so having an electronic viewfinder let me know what I was actually getting. And then I was like, oh, what is this? I don't like that at all, and then beyond that was how crisp and sharp just 16 megapixels was.
Yes.
you know, I was like, okay, 16, that's cool. Like now phones have that, you know, but
Yeah.
that's not it.
No,
You know,
that's not it. You're right.
it's not it, you know. And so the experience, first and foremost, the image quality is, I mean, neck and neck. The build quality of that camera was excellent.
Yeah.
It was a tank.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the 3514 that I had with it was god awful slow, but I had everything planned out anyway.
Yeah.
You know, I knew how to focus it. I knew how to, you know, I knew what I wanted to get. I knew how to frame it. I've shot with crop sensors before, so I was familiar with converting it to, you know, 35 millimeter and all that stuff, which didn't mean anything to me either.
Sounds
You
good
know,
though.
none of that really matters either to me.
Yeah.
But that camera was incredible. It started it all for me when it comes to Fuji. And then honestly, then after that, I started learning about the X-Trans technology and the filter that's laid on, you know, all that kind of stuff came after the fact.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know,
It's interesting you said that, actually, because, you know, for me, I was a Nikon, as you guys say, Nikon shooter. And and I was getting to a stage where I just had too much gear. I was getting really very, very frustrated with a big low pro bag, 3 camera bodies. Probably sometimes I'm walking around the city with about four lenses. I had the Nikon 1 series as well because I wanted to go lighter, but it made no difference. I still ended up carrying my D50 and my D200. So that's when I made the switch to Fuji, when I heard Frederick talking about he's going to get the X100, and then he did. And then, of course, Dave Hobby and Zach Arias were making noises about the Fujis, and I must admit, I went into the shop and they had the XE1 there, and I picked it up and took some photographs with it in the shop, and I said, look guys, I said, this is great. You see it so many times, don't you, in the shops, where you take a photograph and you look at the back of the screen, you chimp it straight away, and you go, oh, that's pretty good. And I just said to the guy, I said, look, okay, I know on the back of that screen of every camera in this shop is going to look perfect.
Right.
I said, what would really be great is if you guys showed me a book of photographs made with this camera. And he went, well, funny you should say that. And he handed me a Fuji book of photographs taken with the X Pro 1 and the XE1. And I just flicked through and I said, these images are amazing. And he said, well, that is how Fuji in the UK are selling this series of cameras.
Wow.
And well, they just sold it because basically, as I said to the guy, I went into one shop before and someone was saying to me, they were trying to choose whether to buy the Sony NEX3 or whether they were going to get the just a simple compact camera. And of course, they're just looking at the back of the screen all the time. And I said, look, guys, you don't know how big that photograph's going to be until you actually print it and you see the quality.
Right.
And I said to this rep, I said, you want to get some prints made up for that. If you're going to sell Sony, get some prints made up so people can see how big they can get the images. And when Fuji did that, I thought, that's it. I got a Fuji, and that was it. I basically sold all my Nikon gear and got the XE1 with the 1855, and I haven't looked back since then. There's something about the Fuji which brought photography back to me.
Nice.
I can't actually put it into any other words than that. Yes, it could be the fact that everything was there to use. You had the aperture ring, you had your shutter speed dial, and all the other bits and bobs. And it wasn't buttons and menus, which I find with some cameras. And that's what the Fujis did for me. It brought photography back to me, it brought the enjoyment back. And then, as we say, you got the tool, and then the floodgates open with your artistry. Then you can start concentrating on the photograph in hand. So you got the X Pro 1. Sorry, I went on a little bit of a tangent there, but the X Pro 1. Did you get into the X100 at all, or the XT1?
No, I never had an X100. I've used it before. A friend of mine who will admit, before he switched to Nikon, he shot some stuff with his X100S, and he said he had more keepers with it than he did, you know, with his other professional Canon camera. But no, I never got into the 23 on the X100 series. But I did have the XT1. I did have that camera. That was great too. The EBF on that camera is incredible still. It's incredible still. I mean, and before I got the X Pro 2, I shot with a full frame Sony A7 II. And I think that's a great tool. It's a great camera. However, if I want to create better images for myself,
Yeah.
I just saw the good glass that they're introducing.
Yeah.
Just like double,
Yeah.
double in size, and price go way, way up. And so I just saw myself not wanting that system anymore, and wanting to get back to the experience of shooting, and it led me back to my X Pro 2.
And it's interesting actually you mentioned that, because I noticed you'd hashtag Karen Hutton a few times in your images there. Excuse me.
Sure.
And when I spoke to Karen with regards when she switched from Canon to Fuji, she went through that Sony experience and said almost exactly the same thing. The lenses were big, and they don't have a great stable. I think they're still struggling with the stable of lenses that they've got. There's a lot of third-party lenses they use, which suits some photographers. But one comment she made, and you've made a comment as well, once she saw the images on the screen, as she said, it was just jaw-dropping, and and from a crop sensor as well, compared to everything that she'd been using before.
It blows my mind. I mean, it's like it's intangible. Like I really can't quantify. Like I've said this before, and I've heard other people say it. It's like there's an aesthetic about the images that are just extremely pleasing. You know, they're extremely pleasing. You know, I have to, like, I shot like a couple, and the pictures are on my Instagram, and the mom is wearing a striped shirt going left to right. And I mean, it's like, you know, the Moire is just like, I was like, oh my God, it's such a great picture. But that pattern is like destroyed. And the thing that keeps coming to my mind is, wow, if I'd shot that with my X Pro 2, I wouldn't have had
You wouldn't have had it. No.
You know, and that image to me would have been a more pleasing image for me. I mean, they love it, and that's what's important too. But for me, I'm like, oh, if I would have just shot it with this, you know, I would have had the capture that I want. But the images are just astounding, and I haven't even begun to really present a full quality, full resolution image yet. But when I do, I think I'm going to be even more excited about owning this camera.
I know, I'm sure you will, because I've been fortunate enough to print some of my work here, and I was only showing a friend last night some images, you know, just small 6x4s, which I've just put in a little wallet type thing to show the work, and these images are amazing, and on the basis of what's been produced. Now we come to the X Pro 2, and it hasn't been, shall we say, an easy route for you with this camera.
No.
It hasn't put you off the camera.
No.
Let's condense the story a little bit. Unfortunately, you're on your third X Pro 2.
Yes.
And the first two, fingers crossed you don't have this problem. And it sounds to me, as the way you related the story to me, that probably you got a little bit unlucky of getting into a particular batch of cameras that were produced at the same time, probably with the same fault. What was the fault that you had in the first two cameras?
First two cameras, I would be shooting single mode, EVF or optical, and it would just lock up and freeze. And then it would say, turn camera off, turn camera on. And it wouldn't let you do anything. You couldn't take another picture. You couldn't change the aperture. You couldn't do anything. Nothing would fix it except for turning it off and turning it on. And it could be 5 shots in. It could be 15 shots in. It could be every 3 shots. It just seemed kind of randomized. So the first one I sent back, they sent me a new one. Got with Fuji the second time around when I had my second camera, and they just handled it. They just handled it. So
this really is testament really to, because that was you bought the camera through is it BNC over there in the States?
For BNC in Vegas.
Yeah, exactly right. So and that really just is testament really to the camera shop that you bought the camera from in the first place, but also the Fuji backup, because you said you had actually spoken to Fuji as well on the problem, and they were on it straight away.
Straight away.
It's amazing because you hear stories. Unfortunately, I'm going to say it, Nikon had this terrible thing with the 600 and the 610 when it came in with the supposed oil leaks. They did nothing about it. They let it go. Then they've had some problems again with other light leaks. I know there's a problem with the XT1 at a period of time with regards to light leaks, but that was sorted out very quickly. But what I find amazing is these bigger firms, Nikon and Canon, seem to go through a period of time where probably releasing the camera too early on the market. And then basically well, there's nothing wrong with it. But yeah, but look at these. No, there's nothing wrong with it. And then, unfortunately, as you say, having to fall on the sword and then say, well, yeah, we've got to fix it.
Right. They've been good. I mean, they didn't hear anything about the problem until I called, which is, I guess that's the line. And it is so new, and I get it, but I held on to the first one longer because I know Fuji does firmware updates. Yeah. And so I thought, you know what, it's probably something wrong, and I'm not tripping because it's Fuji. They're going to fix it, Yeah. And when it happened when the firmware that came out didn't fix my problem, that's when I was like, oh no.
Got a problem.
There might be something wrong with it. Yeah. But BNC's been phenomenal. Shameless plug about them. They've been phenomenal. Fuji I've dealt with Fuji directly, a couple different sources in Fuji. Also in New Jersey, their repair center. I've met some of their staff at WPPI, so they definitely know me. They've handled it. Both the camera shop and Fuji have been like, hey, how's it going?
And this is what we want from a camera manufacturer. And I think one of the big things for me is when we started getting the Kaizen situation with Fuji, where they're giving you firmware upgrades for cameras which have already been preceded. For instance, the XE1, I'm still getting firmware upgrades for my XE1 when the XE2 is on the market. Right. Now firms have realized that's a great thing to do for the customer. Right. Before, no one was doing that.
Well, this is a $1,700 camera body.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
How many cameras I could buy for $1,700 right now? You know what I mean?
Yeah, so, I quite agree with you.
With the understanding that this camera will live with me for a very long time, I will pay the money and I will wait for Fuji to fix it, and they will fix it. And not only that, it says Pro on it. So, they have to really understand that, that's going to be the expectation, whether I'm a pro or not. I'm paying Pro money for a camera that produces, but if it's a dollars and cents thing, I can get another tool. But it's not, it's not about that,
No.
So they've done everyone's done an excellent job.
That's really good to hear, because I did shortly after we'd made arrangements for you to come on the show, I noticed some blogging that you'd done, and said, I've got some problems here, and people were. I think it may have been on Facebook that you made the comments, and people were coming saying, "Oh, what's the problem? What's this? What's that?" And which is really, really good to see people coming in and making their suggestions what you should try to sort the problem yourself, maybe. Right. But it's great the way that you've had this support, not only from BNC but from Fuji. Now your third, it's terrible to say that, X Pro 2 that you've got now. Mm-hmm. You've only had a short while. You haven't had any problems with it to date?
Zero.
Great.
Zero.
Let's leave it at that.
Yeah. Third time is a charm,
Third time lucky, as we say.
Yeah.
What's now we talked about the 56, and I heard you mention you got the 35 as well. Have you still got the 35-1.4, or have you upgraded that to the F2?
This is the F2.
You got the F2.
In no way, shape, or form do I think this is a downgrade, or do I think the 34 or 35-1.4 is an upgrade. I just think it's just different. Right. It's very small. Like I was like, is this a 4/3 lens?
Exactly. Yeah.
But it's very. I mean, here's my iPhone 6S Plus, and then there's the
tiny, isn't it, when you show it like that?
Lens. Yeah. And just to compare, this is the 16, and then there's the 35.
Yeah.
So this thing,
the 35 f2 is weatherproof.
This is a WR lens, yeah. So this is like their, weather resistant lens. It's super quiet, super fast. The focus throw on it is great. This is a great lens. I'm shocked.
I've got the 35-1.4, and I must be honest, sometimes it does hunt. It goes back and forth. It hunts a little bit. It's a little bit on the slow side in terms of the speed of the focusing, the autofocus. Mm-hmm. But one of its advantages, obviously, is it's great in low light situations. If I'm going into a church or a cathedral or sort of a darkened area, put the old 35-1.4 and then I'm away. And I don't mind shooting at 6400 ISO with my cameras. because I just love the effect there. What other gear have you got, Chris?
I got, let's see, I have the 16, I have the 35, and I have the 56 APD. And that's it. You know,
That's
I carry my
your prime lens.
That's all I have right now.
Okay, yeah.
XT2, hopefully when it comes out, I'll get that, and I'll probably get a zoom. I'll probably get the 50 to 140.
Okay.
But other than that, I'm very basic. You know, I kind of have an idea. When I go out, I have an idea in my mind of what I'm going to shoot. I'll still carry my lenses with me. And this, just to make a disclosure, this is a loaner lens right here, the 56 APD. But I have shot with the normal one, which I want to get one or the other. But I'm just a simple shooter.
Yeah, just keep it simple and know your gear.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when you were mentioning, you know, lightening your load and going to mirrorless, when I had my T2I and I got the 7D, I had the 100 millimeter macro, I had the 70 to 200 2.8, I had the 85 1.2, I had the 17 to 40. You know, I had a Ducati worth of camera equipment.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
That was the deal.
Yeah,
sold it all. It was too much.
Get rid of it.
I didn't
Too
know
much.
what I was doing. You know, I just thought, oh, now that I have this $1,800, you know, fat lens, you know, I'm gonna shoot great stuff, you know, and it was for the furthest from the truth.
I think one of the things I found out when my line of business, I'm in the exhibition business. I build exhibition stands all around Europe. So I normally get a free day to walk around some kind of city. It could be Munich, Dusseldorf, Paris, Rome, could be anywhere. So I'm very fortunate on that front. And to have the low pro bag with, as I said to you, 2, maybe 3 camera bodies, and I would have the 35, the 50, the 28-85, and then also sometimes I would have my 100, 300 mil lens in there as well. Or 70 to 300, whichever one it was. I can't remember now. But my problem was I'd be walking along with the 28 to 85 on, and I think, I think I might need to switch lenses here. I think I'll go to the 35 and concentrate on some prime lens work. And you do that for a little bit, and then you say, no, I'm going to change. And what you end up doing is you become a gearhead. You're switching your lenses all the time. You're not concentrating on your work. And
you're missing moments. You're missing moments, you know.
Exactly right. And that's when I switched to the Fuji, condensed my gear, and it made a whole lot of difference.
Everything that I take with me, except for the camera, goes in this little field pouch, this Peak Designy field pouch thing. And I put it on my belt, and I cruise around with this. And I have like a little lens cleaner. I have some memory cards. I got 3 extra batteries, which I haven't put. I have these Wasabi batteries, Wasabi power batteries. I haven't used these yet because I'm wondering. I'm hoping that this isn't the problem. When I talk to Fuji, they're like, yeah, you know, the battery should be fine. Doesn't matter what, you know. But I'm a little reluctant to use anything besides, you know, the Fuji battery and a couple, you know, reformatted memory cards just to hopefully isolate, you know, more what's going on. But at this point, everything's great.
That's an interesting point you mentioned about the battery, because I have got 2 what I term as third-party batteries for my XE1, which is the same battery for the XT10, I think, off the top of my head. That doesn't matter.
It's MP126.
The same one, and I haven't had a problem, and I haven't had a problem either on the length of time that you can use with that battery. I've found no difference in the you know, the life of the battery before it needs to be recharged. So I've been fortunate on that front, but you never know. That may have been something which you may have touched on. Come to that point of the show, Chris. Your favorite photographer?
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one. That's a good one. You know, right now, I really admire Damien Lovegrove.
Yes.
I really admire that
He's
guy.
amazing. Have you got his book?
Yeah.
Have you got his book?
No, I don't have his book.
I tell you what, here we go. There's a plug for Damien. Damien's been on my show.
Yeah.
You have got to get this book.
Right on.
Is Chloe Jasmine Wicello. And basically what Damien's done, he's doing another book in actual fact, which he's very close with, But what he's done is he's taken these images. I just hold it up. Hopefully you'll be able to see it.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Beautiful shots. But what he does,
David!
I know, you can't do it. You must stop it. This is actual fact, it's a signed copy of this one as well. But
Nice.
what in actual fact he does is, now and then there's some text as regards to how he's written, how he's produced the image, the lighting position.
Right.
And so you'll get I'm going to have to hold it right back for you. So you've got a beautiful 1950s type look there to that image.
Right.
And yet on the other side, you've got the text, how he put the image together.
Right.
It is I'm not my mic, sorry. It is a fantastic book. I do highly recommend it to
Chloe Jasmine with cello. Okay.
Yeah, Chloe Jasmine with cello, Damien Lovegrove. You can if you go onto his website. I've just dropped an earphone out. If you go onto his website, you can in actual fact request it to be signed, and he'll send it out to you. Damon's a lovely guy.
Yeah. Like his whole position and how he approaches light and how he really looks for beauty in a scene and how he positions a model, how he lights a model, and he just blows me away.
And a lot of his experience comes from when he was actually a television cameraman and lighting. Exactly right. When he was working in the BBC and the likes. Yes, great choice of photographer. One that isn't regularly mentioned actually, because 9 times out of 10 photographers tend to go for the oldies but greats. You know, the Ansel Adams, Henri Cartier-Bresson, and that guy, and all those sort of guys. So it's really nice that you mentioned a modern day photographer, which is he's doing some great work, and he's as we know, he is a Fuji user. He's a great ambassador for Fuji, and he's a really top notch.
His work is. Mwah.
I know. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. You gotta check his website out as well. Some fantastic work there, especially when he went to I think it was Thailand and Vietnam, where he's taking photographs of the girls in the temples and there. Some really great work.
Stunning. Yeah.
So that's your favorite photographer, but who would you say has been your inspiration?
For now, my children have been just the biggest inspirations to me. I really mean it when I say that my son is my teacher, because he doesn't know it, but he reflects such a huge amount of what I should and shouldn't be doing. He doesn't know I'm kind of looking to him for guidance, but when I see how he approaches certain things and the lightness and the kindness that he exudes when he's just doing the simplest of things, the fact that he just tries so hard, it kind of makes me a little emotional, but he just is. And so when I'm hanging out with him and I'm looking at him and we're just laughing and joking, and he reminds me to just chill out, and enjoy and be silly and catch things and pay attention to the small things, and have a different perspective, or let him speak, let him be silly, let him ramble and not have his thoughts collect, and not be so fast, to correct him or whatever, because you never know what amazing, beautiful thing is going to come out of something. So when I'm with him, he just inspires me to do everything that I want to do better, not just for myself, but because he deserves that from me. Like he deserves that from me.
What I would say is, my son's 26. Hang on to these moments. Don't let it go too quickly. Time does fly. But when that little boy becomes a little man, and then there's the new level,
right,
where you create a great relationship. And for me, the great experience that I had with my son, we used to go out and play a lot of golf. And the greatest thing was when guys would come up to me when he was away doing something else. We may go and do some putting or something, and these guys would come up to me and they'd say, these were people that were directors of firms, or they were head of their police forces, that sort of thing. And they'd say, you got a great little fella there. And when you hear that,
so great.
Exactly right. It's so great. And then when they grow up and you see them moving on into the world and creating a career for themselves, then that's the next level.
Another level.
But you make sure he buys you a beer. Never let him say.
He's not gonna get a cheap date from me.
Damn right. I don't want any short arms and deep pockets here.
Yeah, exactly.
Super. Chris, it's been great to have you on this show. I love your enthusiasm and all the passion. And I'm so pleased that you're not one of these guys that have said, oh, damn it, the camera doesn't work. I'm going to go and buy into another system.
Yeah.
You've stuck at it and you're prepared to stick with it. And you've shown some faith to the company as well, which is a testament to you. And obviously at the same time, testament to Fuji that they've been sticking out. But thank you so much for joining me. Really enjoyed talking to you.
Yeah.
And let's keep in touch. And the other thing, let's hope that your photographic career develops and goes on to bigger and better things for you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I hope you have a good day.
Yeah, we'll do. Thanks so much, Anita. And basically to everyone else, I know it's Thursday and I say this every week. It's tomorrow's Friday. You might have a half a day. If you're going out doing some photography, I suggest you leave your camera bag at home. All the best to you. Bye for now.